I never really talk about this. It's one of those stories that sounds too minor at first, too forgettable to matter. No blood, no ghost, no screams in the night, but that's exactly why it stayed with me all these years. Because what happened wasn't loud. It was quiet, subtle. The kind of thing you could almost miss if you weren't paying attention. But I was. This was back in 2019. I was a junior at a community college in northern Indiana, the kind of town where nothing ever really happens, but everyone swears they're tired of it anyway. I had a 3-hour break between classes that afternoon, and I didn't feel like hanging around campus. So I walked across the parking lot to the Taco Bell next door. It was cold out, late March, early spring, trying its best to push winter out the door, but not quite getting there. My hoodie wasn't enough against the wind, and I remember thinking how good it felt to step into the warmth of that dining area. The heat was blasting, the air smelled like seasoned beef and fryer oil, and there was some pop song playing low on the speakers. It wasn't crowded, just a few people scattered across booths, heads bent over their food or phones. My name's Rachel, by the way. I ordered one of those $5 chalupa boxes and took a seat near the windows. The sun was out, but it didn't help much. I remember watching the wind push through the trees outside, making them bend like they were exhausted. I ate slowly, checking messages, watching a few TikToks. It was one of those peaceful, forgettable moments. Until it wasn't. After I finished eating, I figured I'd use the restroom before heading back to campus. That Taco Bell only had a single-stall unisex bathroom, tucked away near the back. You had to walk down a narrow hallway that felt more like an afterthought, dim, a little musty, and always smelling faintly like mop water and bleach. Not exactly pleasant, but I'd been there before. As I turned the corner toward the restroom, there was someone already waiting in front of the door. A guy, early 20s maybe, medium build, wearing a gray hoodie with the hood up and faded jeans. He looked tired, his eyes were a little sunken like he hadn't slept well. But more than that, he looked quiet, not anxious or sketchy, just like he wanted to be left alone. He gave me this soft, apologetic smile when he noticed me standing behind him. Not creepy or flirty, just that small smile people give when they're trying to be polite but aren't really in the mood for conversation. I gave him a quick nod and stepped back to give him space. We didn't speak, just waited. A moment later, he knocked on the door. Not loud, just 2 quick taps. Then he tried the handle. Locked. He muttered something under his breath, maybe someone's in there or still locked. I couldn't tell exactly, but I remember the sound of it, low, casual, like he wasn't worried. I leaned against the wall, scrolling through my phone. The hallway lights buzzed faintly overhead. A few seconds passed, then the door clicked and the guy went in. I heard the lock slide shut behind him. And that was it. I waited. A minute passed, then 5. No big deal. People take their time in there. I get it. But something felt off. I couldn't explain it, even then. It wasn't the silence. I mean, what are you supposed to hear from a public bathroom, right? But there was something too still about it, too quiet, like the air wasn't moving anymore. Around the 10-minute mark, another girl came around the corner and stood behind me. Then another. We were 3 now, all of us waiting. The first girl, wearing a faded denim jacket and black leggings, leaned over and asked, "Is someone in there?" I nodded. "Yeah, a guy went in a little while ago." She glanced at the door, then at her phone. "How long's he been in there?" I checked mine. At least 10 minutes, maybe closer to 15. She didn't say anything back, just made a face and shifted her weight to the other foot. The girl behind her looked up from her phone and said, "Maybe he's sick or something?" That was the first moment I felt it, not just discomfort, but actual concern. I didn't know the guy. I had no reason to care, but something about it was starting to press on my chest like a weight. I couldn't shake the feeling that the longer we waited, the stranger this was getting. The first girl suggested we get someone to check. I agreed. She walked back toward the counter and spoke to a worker, a young guy in a purple Taco Bell cap who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. He followed her back to the hallway and knocked on the door. "Hey man, you all right in there?" Silence. He knocked again, louder. "Sir, you okay?" Nothing. He looked at us, a little uncertain, then left again. A few minutes later, he returned with someone else. A shift manager, I think. older, mid-30s maybe, with a walkie clipped to his belt and keys jangling at his side. "What's going on?" he asked. The girl explained. Someone had gone in 20 minutes ago, hadn't come out, and wasn't answering. The manager looked annoyed, like he assumed it was a junkie passed out or some kid taking too long on purpose. He knocked, called out. Still nothing. Then he pulled out a key and unlocked the door, and that's when everything shifted. He pushed the door open slowly like he expected to see something bad. But what he found was nothing. No one was in there. Lights on, toilet seat up, sink dry, no signs of anyone having been there at all. The air inside the bathroom didn't even feel used. No warmth, no smell, nothing. Just cold, quiet emptiness. The manager turned back to us, his brows furrowed. "You said someone went in?" We all nodded. "I saw him," I said. "Gray hoodie, jeans. He walked in right before I got in line. I watched him go in." The manager just stood there, looking confused. The worker behind him had this uneasy expression, like he wasn't sure whether to be annoyed or creeped out. The girl in the denim jacket whispered, "I knew it felt weird." The manager didn't say much else. He just closed the door again and walked off, muttering something about people playing pranks. But I wasn't playing. None of us were. I didn't use the bathroom that day. Neither did the other two girls. We just slowly drifted apart, walking away without really talking. I left Taco Bell feeling cold all over again, like the warmth of the place had been yanked out the second that door opened, and it stayed with me. Later that night, I tried to make sense of it. Maybe I got distracted. Maybe he did come out and I just didn't notice. But I kept thinking, how? I was right there. I was watching the hallway the entire time. No one came out. He went in, the lock clicked. 20 minutes later, the door was unlocked from the outside and there was no one there. I even went back 2 days later, just to see the hallway again. It was still there. Same flickering lights, same gray walls, same distant echo of fryer oil and cleaning fluid. But nothing strange happened. Nothing at all. And maybe that's the most unsettling part. It wasn't some horror movie scene with flashing lights or shadows moving. It was a normal afternoon, a crowded dining room, a guy in a hoodie, a locked door, and then gone. Not everything scary comes with a warning sign. Sometimes the worst things are the ones you can't explain, the ones no one believes because they sound too small to matter. But I know what I saw. I know what I didn't see. And I still think about him, not because I'm afraid of him, but because no one else even noticed he was missing. And maybe that's the scariest part. Repetition. I used to think working the graveyard shift at a Taco Bell would be the easiest job I ever had. There were long stretches of silence, only broken by the occasional drunk customer or a delivery driver grabbing food before heading back out. No managers breathing down your neck, no dinner rush or lunchtime chaos. Just you, the low hiss of the fryers, and the fluorescent lights flickering slightly overhead. My name's Len. I started working at a Taco Bell off Soledad Canyon Road near Santa Clarita, California, in early April of last year. I had just moved into a one-bedroom apartment not far from the store after leaving college early. I needed a break from everything. Rent was cheap, and the job was mindless. It was the kind of quiet that should have made me feel safe. But that changed not even 2 weeks into my shift routine. It was April 16 when I first noticed it. I remember because it was a Sunday, and Sundays on night shifts were particularly slow. I was cleaning the dining area around 3 a.m., halfway through a cup of lukewarm coffee, when I heard something hit the floor from the condiments shelf by the lobby. It wasn't loud or dramatic, just a soft thud, like a sauce packet falling from the counter. I walked over, expecting to find maybe a Diablo packet had slipped off, or someone had left something sitting half off the edge earlier in the day. But when I got there, all I found was a single protein bar, one of the few we stocked in the cooler for employees, sitting on the tile floor face down. I checked the nearby area, but nothing else was out of place. I figured maybe I'd left it too close to the edge on break and didn't notice. I picked it up, put it back in the mini fridge, and didn't think much of it. The next night, almost like clockwork, it happened again. Same area, same protein bar, same time, 3:33 a.m. This time I stood there a little longer after putting it back, wondering if the shelf or fridge was tilted or if the bar was uneven, but it didn't fall again. I even jostled the edge to test it. Nothing moved. Still, I chalked it up to coincidence, but when it happened a third time, I started to get weird about it. It wasn't just that the same bar kept falling. It was that it only ever fell at that exact same time. I started paying closer attention. I'd even glance at the clock around 3:30 just to see if anything was about to happen. And every single time, without fail, at exactly 3:33 a.m., I'd hear it thump, followed by a quiet moment of pause, as if the building itself was waiting for me to notice. I didn't tell anyone about it right away, mostly because it felt too small to mention, like I'd be laughed at for even bringing it up. I thought about moving the bar or tossing it, but I didn't. I almost wanted to see how long it would go on. It went on for 9 nights straight. Sometimes I'd already be walking toward the dining area when it happened. Once, I was in the back cleaning the soda fountain when I heard the fall and glanced at the clock. 3:33 a.m. on the dot. The weirdest part? No customers ever came in around that time. I checked the security monitors afterward a few times just to be sure. I started leaving the feed on split screen. One camera facing the lobby, the other the prep area. The footage would just show the item falling on its own. No one near it, nothing visibly causing it. Eventually, I told Marcy, my shift lead on the day crew. I didn't go in with the whole "this is creepy" angle. I just said one of the shelves might be uneven and an item kept falling every night. She raised an eyebrow when I said it was the same item every time, but just said she'd have maintenance look at it. That was it. A day later, she moved the bars from the break room fridge to a different area in back, near the dry storage. And sure enough, the next night, still 3:33 a.m., a single bar from the new location landed on the floor. That's when the pit in my stomach started. It didn't seem like a fridge issue anymore. I started writing the time down each night just to confirm I wasn't imagining things. It wasn't always the same flavor after the move, but it was always just one, and it was always from that same group, some kind of protein or energy bar. Same section, same result. Then one night I decided I'd be standing right there at 3:33. Just to watch. I stood by the fridge for 5 minutes. My eyes scanned the shelf, my ears strained. The store was dead silent except for the soft sizzle from the fryer timers. At 3:32, I crouched down, pretending to reorganize. At exactly 3:33, I watched, literally watched, a bar roll forward and fall with no movement, no gust, no vibration. I didn't even pick it up. I just stepped back and left it there. A few nights later, I moved the bars again during a slow hour, this time putting them in a sealed drawer inside the manager's office. In their old spot, I placed some leftover sauce trays and wrapped utensils. Guess what hit the floor? A protein bar from the drawer. 3:33 a.m. At that point, I stopped trying to make sense of it. I just started expecting it. After a few nights, it started to feel less like a coincidence and more like some sort of routine, like a tick on a stopwatch, a signal. The only time I mentioned it again was to a guy named Chris, a regular who stops by most nights around 4 a.m. for a breakfast crunch wrap and black coffee. He was older, probably in his 40s, said he used to work in building security. I think he noticed I looked tired one morning and asked if I was all right. So I told him. He didn't laugh. He didn't even blink. Instead, he nodded slowly and said, "Yeah, that's been happening for a while." I froze and asked what he meant. He said he used to stop by this same Taco Bell years ago, back when the lobby stayed open 24/7 and a different crew ran the place. Said one of the night staff had once told him they constantly had to clean up a mystery fall near the prep station, like an item was always knocking itself over. He didn't remember the exact time it would happen, but it freaked me out enough to check our internal inventory logs the next day. Sure enough, tracking showed a higher than normal replacement rate for employee snacks and grab-and-go items going back years. Eventually, I stopped staying to watch. I didn't want to know what would happen if I kept getting closer. I started blasting music from the back office radio around 3:30 just to fill the air. But no matter what I did, the sound still came. Like clockwork. The job itself hasn't changed. I still work the night shift, still prep tortillas, still mop the lobby floor. But now there's this awareness I can't unfeel. A tension that arrives just before 3:33, like the restaurant is holding its breath. And every time that minute arrives and the bar drops, it's a reminder that something is here, something unseen. I never told corporate, I never filed a report. What would I even say? All I know is this: whatever it is, it hasn't stopped. And I'll be there again tonight, watching the clock, listening for the sound. 3:33 a.m. I was an assistant manager at a Taco Bell in Eastern Washington in a city called Yakima. It's not a big place, but it's busy enough that the night shift stays interesting. Drunks stumbling in after bar close, truckers grabbing burritos before heading back on the road, the occasional wanderer who just wants to talk. I ran the night shift schedule and usually split it between myself and a few younger employees. One of them, Andy, had just started 2 weeks prior. He was 19, fresh out of high school, and working nights part-time while helping his dad out during the day with some landscaping gigs. Good kid, on time, quiet but polite. Nothing about him ever raised concern. My name's Josh, by the way. I'm 33 now, and I'd worked that store for close to 5 years when this happened. It was a job I never planned to keep long, but the predictability of it kind of trapped me. That and the fact that nothing ever really happened until one Thursday night last November. The schedule that week was normal. Andy was covering the Tuesday and Thursday overnights, and I had the weekend shifts. We had one camera facing the lobby door, 2 in the kitchen, and 1 mounted near the register, angled over the line counter and dining area. On Friday morning, I came in a little early, around 5:15 a.m., to relieve Andy from his Thursday night shift. He looked tired, as expected, and clocked out right after we chatted for a minute. Everything seemed fine. Kitchen looked clean. No reports in the logbook. I didn't think twice. But around 10:30 that morning, the store owner, Mr. Harrow, came in with this puzzled look on his face. He's not the type to show much emotion, always focused on numbers, deliveries, and keeping his cool. But he walked straight to the office and asked me if I could pull up the security footage from the night before. He didn't explain why, so I asked him what we were looking for. He said, "Just humor me, load up from midnight to 4. I scrubbed through the footage from the register cam, starting with the counter feed. At first, it looked normal. The usual: Andy wiping down the prep station, handing out an order to the drive-thru, checking the fryer timer. But as we kept watching, I started noticing things that didn't add up. First, Andy never stepped out back for his usual smoke break. That might not seem like much, but he always took 5 minutes out near the dumpster around 2 a.m. like clockwork. Second, there were 2 used sauce packet wrappers in the trash, time-stamped from around 2:45 a.m., but no corresponding sales showed up on the POS. But the worst part? When the camera panned clearly to his face around 3:10 a.m., I froze. "That's not Andy," I said out loud before I even realized I'd said it. It looked like him. Same frame, same black Taco Bell visor he always wore, same non-slip shoes, but something was off. The jawline was too sharp. The way his mouth moved didn't match. And even though the lighting was dim, the eyes looked hollow, almost like they didn't reflect light at all. Harrow leaned in and asked again, "That's Andy, right?" I told him I didn't think so, at least not the one I spoke to that morning. We scrubbed through more. The Andy on footage did everything by the book, clocked in, wiped the counters, prepped the line, but something felt off. He moved with this stiff, repetitive motion. There was a moment where he looked straight up at the camera for 10 full seconds, just stared, no blink, no shift, then went back to prepping like nothing happened. I checked the time clock system. Andy had clocked in at 10:57 p.m. and out at 5:08 a.m. Same login, same ID. But the person I was watching, I wasn't convinced it was him. That afternoon, I gave Andy a call. I didn't want to spook him, so I just asked how the shift went. He said, boring, mostly, and mentioned a guy who came in around midnight asking for tacos, then stood outside near the lobby window just pacing back and forth. I asked him what time he took his smoke break. There was a pause. Then he said, "Actually, I don't remember stepping out last night. That's weird." I asked if anything unusual happened. Not really. I mean, the fryers beeped all at once around 3, but that happens sometimes. I thanked him and hung up. The rest of the day, I couldn't shake the unease crawling up my neck. I went back to the footage again that night, this time checking the back exit camera. From 10:57 p.m. to 5:08 a.m. Not once did anyone enter or leave through the front or drive-through doors. That couldn't be right. I saw Andy leave that morning. I rewound again, slower this time, double-checking every frame. And sure enough, at 5:08, the front doors never opened. There was no exit. No Andy. Nothing. But then at 5:12 a.m., the kitchen hallway cam caught a glimpse of movement. A blur heading past the dry storage shelves toward the back emergency exit. The image was grainy, but it looked like someone with Andy's build slipped past toward the back door. That door doesn't have a camera on it, but the motion lights in the hallway lit up. The alarm system, silent. No alert. No access log. The next few nights, I volunteered to take the overnight shifts myself. I didn't want Andy or anyone else coming in until I figured it out. I kept both the front and back cameras open on the office monitor, eyes darting between them, one ear tuned to the kitchen sounds. Midnight passed, 2 a.m. came and went. Then at 3:10 a.m., the soda machine hissed for a second, unprompted. At 3:33, the fryer's display panel reset itself, flickered and rebooted. But what chilled me happened at 4:17. A man walked into the lobby. Tall, hood up, black hoodie pulled low over his face. He walked slowly past the drink station and came up to the counter. He grabbed a straw from the dispenser and stared at me. Didn't say a word. I asked if he needed something. He slid a crumpled $5 bill toward me and nodded at the register. I rang up a water cup just to keep the interaction moving and handed him his change. He turned and walked out the front doors. It wasn't until I checked the footage later that I realized he was never there. The door never opened, no sale logged, no movement on the drive-through cam. From the camera's view, I was standing at the counter talking to no one, reaching out to empty air. Then, at 5:08 a.m. sharp, Andy walked in through the front entrance and said, "Morning." I swear I never saw him come in. I don't know how to explain any of it. I never filed a report. Harrow told me to stop bringing it up. Probably a system glitch, he said. Video feed gets wonky sometimes, but I know what I saw and what I didn't. I still work here. Same location, same routine. But now, every night, I check every monitor. Every now and then, around 4 a.m., I see someone in a black hoodie pass behind the kitchen line, someone who's not really there. Closing time. It was late April, and I was about 6 months into working the closing shift at a Taco Bell off the I-84 in Nampa, Idaho. We were one of the last fast food spots open in the area, closing at 2 a.m. every day except Sunday. Normally, the routine was simple. Clean up, close out, and be out the door by 2:30. Most nights were uneventful, almost boring, which was exactly what I wanted. My name's Eli. I'm 24, finishing my last year at a local community college and working nights to cover tuition. The team was always short-staffed, so closing usually meant just me and one other person, often a girl named Kayla. She was 19, sharp with numbers, and liked blasting old Paramore while wiping down the line. We had a rhythm, a way of moving through the shifts like we'd rehearsed them. That night, Kayla had already finished the drive-through station and was mopping up near the soda fountain. I was counting down the register, flipping through singles when a shadow passed by the front window. "Customer?" she asked, glancing up. "Hope not," I muttered. "We locked up 15 ago." But there it was again, a blur near the glass doors. "I'll check," I said, putting the till back in the safe. The dining room lights were already dimmed, casting long, gray shapes across the booths. I peered through the locked glass, expecting maybe someone confused about the hours or trying to get a last-minute order in. Instead, a man was standing there, mid-30s. Thin, pale skin, 2 clean sneakers, no coat despite the breeze. He had one hand tucked into the pocket of his hoodie and was staring straight through the glass at me. "Sorry," I called out through the door. "We're closed." His lips didn't move, he just kept staring. Kayla stepped beside me, whispering, "What's his deal?" I shook my head and reached for the door key. "Just need to ask him to move on." "Be careful," she said. I unlocked the door and cracked it open a few inches. "Hey man," I said, "we're done for the night. You'll have to come back tomorrow." Still nothing, but he stepped forward, slow, deliberate. I backed up. "Sir, you need to leave." Then softly, he spoke. "Do you still have the box?" "What box?" His eyes twitched like he was calculating something. "The red one. I left it here." I glanced back at Kayla, who shrugged. "Sorry," I said. "There's no lost and found here. You should call during the day." He smiled, not warmly, not politely, just a quick, crooked smile. Then he turned and walked off the sidewalk into the parking lot. Creep, Kayla muttered. I nodded and locked the door again, but when I turned back around, he was standing at the drive-thru window. Kayla gasped. How the hell? I stormed over and pulled the blinds. He's just messing with us now. Call Tony, she said. Now. Tony was our shift manager. He lived 10 minutes away and always told us to call if something got weird. As I dialed, I heard a tap on the glass, slow, rhythmic. I ignored it and listened to the dial tone. Voicemail. He's not picking up, I said. Let's just finish closing and get out. We powered through the last 10 minutes, silent, rushing. Kayla dumped the mop water while I secured the register and made sure the back door was latched. We headed out the front, locking the main entrance behind us. Her car was closer to the door, so she jogged off first, waving. I made it to my car, pulled out of the lot, and that's when I saw him again. He was standing at the edge of the building, half in shadow, right by the dumpster. Phone in one hand, watching me. I didn't stop. Didn't think. I peeled out and didn't let off the gas until I hit the on-ramp. The next day, I told the GM everything. She said no one matching that description had come in to ask about a lost item. Probably just some tweaker, she said. Happens more than you'd think. But Kayla didn't come back the next shift. Didn't answer texts. Didn't post on socials. 2 days later, her mom came in asking if we'd seen her. No one had. Police came by, took our statements, checked footage. The camera facing the lot? Corrupted. The drive-through cam? Static between 2:11 and 2:32 a.m. The last clear image was of Kayla mopping. She never clocked out. Her car was found 4 days later in a Walmart parking lot 12 miles away. Unlocked, empty. They never found her. I quit that week. A month passed. I couldn't sleep, couldn't shake the feeling that someone was still watching. One afternoon, I walked past the Taco Bell and saw a man loitering by the corner, hood up, face shadowed. Looked like him. My heart dropped. I crossed the street, head down. He didn't follow, but I swear I felt his stare all the way home. That night, I dreamed I was locking up again. Only this time, Kayla never waved goodbye. She stood at the door, staring at the sidewalk where the man had first appeared. And when I asked what she saw, she just said, "He's still here." I woke up drenched in sweat. The dreams came more often after that. Sometimes I'd hear a knock on my apartment door in the dream, open it, and find the man standing there. Other times, I'd be back in the Taco Bell. Only this time, the store was dark, flickering with broken lights, and Kayla would be standing in the corner, unmoving, watching the door. Sometimes in those dreams, I'd see the box. Just a small red shoebox sitting on the counter. I'd go to open it, but always wake up before I saw what was inside. I started noticing little things. Someone following a few car lengths behind me late at night. The same gray sedan parked across from my apartment 3 nights in a row. I told myself it was just paranoia. Until one night, I came home and found a napkin from Taco Bell slipped under my door. No writing, just folded. I moved 2 weeks later. To this day, there's no update. Kayla's still missing. The police chalked it up to a runaway at first, then just ran out of leads. But I know something happened that night, and I'll never forget the way he looked at me. Not angry, not unhinged, just patient, like he was waiting for something, and maybe still is. Even now, 2 years later, I still avoid late-night shifts. I can't look at a Taco Bell sign without feeling a wave of unease. Sometimes I catch myself looking over my shoulder in empty parking lots, flinching when someone walks too closely behind me. Some nights, I dream of the red box again, except now it's open, and whatever's inside is waiting for me.